Okay, so this is the first in my how to teach you to paint videos that I'm going to do. So basically, I drew nothing beforehand and I just started painting. And so far, we've used 3 different brushes and pens. So I actually will use brush pens when I'm out of ink as brushes to actually do detail with, because they actually make for really fine detail brushes. At least these Zig pens that I use really do. They're really, really nice. So far, what we did is we did a dollar rounding brush, 1.5. It's a sable brush, and with that, we took white and a little blue, and we made curling motions with it in the sky to create our sky. And over in the sea area, we put in our water, which we wanted to have in there, using a fan brush. So that's what we've done so far, and we did multiple different colors, tones, and shades in each of them. And that's where we are so far. On this picture, we're using a Canson paper, which is an okay-ish water paper. It's not the best in the entire world, but for this purpose, it'll do. Now, I kind of messed up on the sky, which is what you just saw there, so I decided to change it and to fix what I had done. And now we're going to repair the water a little bit. And you can see the fan brush. Each brush has a different quality, a different texture, and a different tone that it will do. For any detail work, I'm typically going to use a very fine brush and try to get that detail work as good as possible. The biggest things you're going to want to do when you start watercolor painting is learn to mix paints. And when you see it in a palette to a point that you like the color, that is when you apply the color. You can have an extra piece of scrap paper on you to be able to use with that. And you also want, even when you have a good color you like, to make 2 or 3 different shades of that color using black and using white watercolor paint so that you can vary and layer the tone within the color so that it's not going to be an all one color painting or piece, which really won't have any dimension or any depth or any tone to it. So now we're adding in the eyebrows on our person and starting to give this person an actual face. Now, I like to just kind of create imaginary people out of my mind. Now, the way I draw a person is not the way most artists do, which I do know that method. It's like you draw a circle for the face, you draw in the nose, you draw in the features, and I don't usually use that method. So the way I look at a face is by studying people's faces. There's usually a measure between the nose and between the rest of the face that you can kind of start to draw off of. I usually start with the eyes, and then I go from the eyes to the rest of the picture. And there's usually a balance of weights between these features, which allows you to figure out the contour, depth, and dimension for the actual face that you're going to be trying to draw or trying to paint, one of the two. So now there's some airs in this, but the nice thing with watercolor is you can dab where you don't like something, blend it out and paint over it in a few minutes. And it takes very little time to dry, which is a huge plus if you're trying to paint over something, because it doesn't take as much work to do. Because you don't have to let this dry for like 3 days like you might with a watercolor painting or something akin to that. So now that I've let that dry just a little bit, we're going to come in with a different tone of peachish brown for the face, and we're just going to paint over what I didn't like and fix it. And we'll make a new face. And it's that easy. You can just go in there and completely change the skin tone, the face, everything. So that's what we're going to do for this face that we're painting here, but you do have to let it dry between these different layers for it to work when you're trying to fix something. So you don't have to freak out. If there's something it turns out, hey, you really, really don't like that, why did you just paint that? You can go back and you can fix it yourself a little bit later. So it's nothing at all that you need to freak out over. You can definitely get that stuff fixed. And right now we're adding in a little bit of hair, and I'm making her a little bit older and giving her some gray hair. Now, if you're not sure what color you've got on your brush, which does happen sometimes if you are in the middle of a painting, you can just test it on an extra piece of paper and see, hey, what does that come out as, and see if you like the color before you apply it to the actual page. And that's usually a good way of doing it. Now, when you have a super dark color like this on your brush, which is black combined with whites and make gray, you do want to go ahead and wash the brush off before you switch back to another color so that you don't affect the color too much. So I just went back to that kind of taupe color I was using for the face, and I'm applying it in a layer again to the same layer we just did to make it a little bit deeper in tone and a little bit better coverage. So what do we have so far of the face? We've got a shape, we've got eyes, we've got ears, we've got a mouth. We don't really have much though because there's only a little shadow and a little light. So we're going to need to add some more to that, which we will in a second when this dries. For now, we might just make an outfit for her. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put her in the beach on a sunny, nice day in a really pretty little sundress. And then the darker tones that we make out of the paint can be used for shadow on the image. So right now I'm mixing orange with black because I didn't really plan it in advance. And so now we're going to add some deeper tones to this as we go, where we think that they should be, where we think there should be wrinkles in the fabric. And now if it bleeds too much, it's too much water and you probably should let it dry and then come back to it. Just so you know, which I'm getting a little bit in the dress area, but we'll fix it later, so it's not a big deal. So now the face looks pretty well dried. So we're going to start adding a little more detail to the face. So I have some black in this pan over here and some brown mixed together. I've dipped this art brush so that it has a little bit of dryness to it and a little bit of wetness too. And we're going to start adding some darker details to the picture. So it's clear we've put this woman on a beach. So you can't leave this woman on a beach without any sand. So we're gonna give her some sand. And we're gonna make it sparkly sand because we just want to. So we're gonna add a little tiny bit of either gold or bronze paint to our brush. We're using the Type 3 sable brush again. And when this dries, it'll have a little sparkle to it because that's what we're using for paint. So anyway, that's about a 10-minute painting that anybody could paint and anybody could do by hand. And here is our finished product. So I hope you enjoyed painting with me for the day and me showing you how to do an introduction simple watercolor painting. I really hope you all have a great day and thanks for watching my video. Bye.